But it is Queensland's home series, hosted here in Coffs Harbour. It's been a beautiful day for touch football. I mean, if you look out at the flags, it is dead still. No dew, no wind, no rain. Let's get to work, Scotty.
Yeah, absolutely. A massive first game coming up on the way. Not much separated these two teams. Only the one try in game 1 and 2 of the series. That's where Queensland wrapped it up last time around. Let's see how game 1 unfolds here in the Women's Open Division. It is New South Wales with their first possession. They're looking to strike early. So Hooker Duff plays it now, short of the 7-metre line. Crossfield, Duff again. Is caught in possession. Last touch, Dybel from half, rockets it. Come out to the left-hand side. Danny Davis looks to switch in. Sammy Rogers, ball goes to deck.
Probably not the start New South Wales were looking for, but exactly the start Queensland were looking for. Good dominant defence. And if they can back it up with a strong attacking set, exactly like they're doing, New South Wales are going to be in for a shock start.
Yeah, good meters there, Georgina Rackerman. New South Wales player hitting the deck with the running into the line here. Maddock getting them going forward. Marama Thomas pumps and just coming off the fingertips there of Hayley Maddock. And as you mentioned, pretty intentional set there from Queensland. The running game coming out of their end of the half. It's one of their strengths, definitely, that we'll see throughout this match. But it was a nice first possession for the ladies in maroon. As New South Wales now getting changes onto the field. And we see a incorrect play the ball. Not playing it square gives possession back to Queensland. Good field position here for the Maroons. It's Andreasen slides across field. Marvin Thomas now takes the touch, steps back in. Keani Bryce plays it. And good defence. Coming up and making the touch there, Patricia Michaelopoulos. Last touch here for Queensland. Do they chance their hand? Put the ball through the hands, but it was that touch from Patricia coming up, just stem the flow there for Queensland. They didn't really have an option on last touch.
A bit of a shaky start there from both teams, Queensland and the Blues.
And talking about shaky starts.
Possibly a little bit of a crucial error from New South Wales. Queensland just taking their time. They look calm, they look confident. It might take the first 5 or so minutes to get those initial nerves out, but when both teams get rid of that, fireworks are going to start to fly, Scotty.
Maddock now skipping across field. Ball in hand yet again. My dishes. Andreasen scheming for a penalty, trying to get players from the New South Wales team to come forward. Maddock now feeds it through the line. They're stacked out here on the right-hand side. Not much room to move on that occasion. Still touches to come.
That's clever, though. You said touches to come. You don't want to be going wasting sets on the line in the first 5 minutes of the game, with Maddock now straightening up the defence and bombing to the left-hand wing. They're going to give this. I want to see the replay of the little bobble on the line, potentially, Scott. Well, it's a great try nonetheless. Maddock straightening up off the sweeper, bombing to the wing. Sending Olivia Goodsall over in the corner. I thought I saw a bob, but I might be blind up here. I'm a long way away.
Blind.
Absolutely blind I am. That is a clean cut try. Olivia Goodsall. What a way to start for Queensland.
Yeah, but it was, as you touched on, Maddock just straightening up, coming into the line. That little stutter step as well. Beautiful crisp pass. Perfect finish from Goodsall. Never in doubt. Opening point to Queensland. New South Wales now trying to chance their hand as they put it through.
I don't know what it was. I swear I saw a bobble. I swear there was a little bobble on the line. But yeah, you're right. I'm probably blind. Especially from this far away. There's 28 players that are participating in this Women's Opens campaign. A minimum of 17 have represented Australia.
It's impressive, isn't it?
That's a lot of experience, a lot of caps for Australia, a lot of world champions out there. There's not many people in the world that get to say, I am actually a world champion. And you can see the display being put on by both sides, and it's only 4 minutes in.
Keani Bryce now from half. Arnie rockets one over the top. Great hands there from Hinarangi, but no. Just a smidge too late. I think might be the call, touch and pass. Nice little bit of face play, though, on the 5th. Almost caught New South Wales napping.
It's interesting. They're not worried about throwing the ball around, are they? They're going left to right, late switches. New South Wales have been putting on a bit of a skillful performance early, but this is interesting. New South Wales actually electing to go away from their substitution box, trying to cap the shutdown defence of Queensland, but Queensland seem to have read it well.
They finally get towards their substitution box now as the changes flow onto the field. A little bit of confusion with who's going into acting half. I look to finish it off in the left-hand side. So again, not a really clean set there for the Blues coming out of their end of the field. Looking to put a little bit of defensive pressure on now the ladies from New South Wales, and forces a mistake. As Queensland send their changes onto the park. Touch one into Queensland territory with Mayolo. A little bit of confusion in the acting half position. Duff now dishes. 2-4 plays it. They sweep around the back. Mai comes up out of the line and makes the touch.
Great attacking line from Michaelopoulos, and a great stop by Mai as well as Duff goes short side. Mayolo getting pipped at the line. Good attacking set by New South Wales. There's some good signs there, but good signs from Queensland defensively as well. New South Wales gifting Queensland a penalty.
And we will make mention of the referees officiating this women's open match. Amanda Sheehy, Brad Smith and Darren Cooper. Brad Smith, the man on field at the moment, controlling things. Paige Markey comes in field. Captain Kim Susi now ball in hand. Links up with Sammy Joe Curtis. Nice roll into the line. Coming into the last. Susi takes off. Gets into the in-goal area. Loops one over the top to Sammy Joe. Just couldn't quite get there. The call is ball down. There's a bit of finger pointing going on from the skipper, Kim Susi. Looking for something and isn't going to get it on this occasion. Ball down is the call.
Good footwork by Susi. And you can see she's not happy about it. Really putting herself and her body into that touch. New South Wales having a bit of trouble early in this first half coming to make their substitutions. This will be fourth touch coming and they're still not over halfway. Can Davis get the Blues forward?
There's Steams in now. Last touch. Buttery picks up looking for offside players. And referee Manshiki are happy with Queensland holding their line, getting back and making the touch. Susi on touch one. Curtis. Hard yards here for Queensland, and it comes up with another error. Good contact in the ruck, just slowing things up there and just forcing that mistake there from the Maroon.
Well, they got the two Davis sisters, Shelley Davis and Danny Davis, standing in the right-hand link. I'm sure they've run some backyard plays being sisters. Danny actually living now in Queensland, and making the trek down to represent her original state, being New South Wales, but trailing by one.
So we see Danny on the sweep now, cuts back into the midfield, whiskers away from the try line, and just forcing that pass. It's a tricky one when you're that close to the try line. You can get momentum going for that second phase play straight off the deck, but it's got to be crisp, it's got to be clean.
The coaching staff probably not happy with that regarding New South Wales attacking line, because it's still the first touch. You've got 4 more touches to go and 4 more try-scoring opportunities. You probably don't have to push that low percentage play at the moment. But again, gifted good field position, Scott. They've had it on 4 occasions, I'd say, the Blues. Yet to capitalise, but they definitely have some strike power within them. Especially through that lady there, Hannah Dybel.
Courtney Young rolls forward. Is Dybel ball in hand at the moment.
Scored 4 tries last year in the 2021 campaign. I'm sure she's set for a few more this year.
Outball to Young. Another beautiful ball over to Sammy Rogers. Fly defence there from Paige Markey. Back midfield. Young. Dybel skipped away. Is made, having to come back to the mark on 5th. Just slows up their momentum coming into the back end of the set. And they turn the ball back over to Queensland. Oh, the fingertips again. After a really impressive start coming out of their end, they've just looked a little bit shaky on the last couple of sets, Millsy.
Bit of a lull by Queensland, but it's just Queensland always seem to play to the minute after full time. So you can look at them now and say, oh, you know, they're going through a lull, they're going through a bit of a soft spot. But Queensland always come out and they always keep swinging no matter what they go through. They're always very mentally strong. But what might be frustrating for New South Wales, this is the 5th time in a row that they've had good field position on their line and they're yet to capitalise. So they've got to make sure that that doesn't get to their emotional side. Because it's a great take by Sargent.
Yeah, competes in every play. Catherine Sargent up in the line there. He goes, oh, you don't want it, I'll take it. Gives the footy back to Queensland. After with enduring plenty of pressure from New South Wales, they turn the switch and now they're on attack. Maddox fires it out to Paige Markey and gets it down in the corner. And just that pivotal little moment there in the middle, Catherine Sargent takes the ball and goes, we'll go down the other end and we'll put points on.
Markey knows her way across the try line, scored 4 tries in the campaign last year. But again, Maddox, 2 try assists to Queensland, and they've both come from Maddox. Exactly the same line too, straightening up the defence and just pulling the trigger on that right to left pass. Maddox again just re-signed with the Brisbane Broncos for the National Rugby League Women's competition. So it's good to see that pathway really taking force between touch football and the National Rugby League.
Davis feeds it to Slattery off the right foot. Good footwork. Plays down on the deck from both teams. Oh. Poor old Bella Slattery there. Top one in the previous play. The ball couldn't get up and get into a position to get over into acting half. Ooh. Queensland now recycling over the top. Little bobble. Caught behind the back. Regina Rackerman having to pull out all the tricks there to hold on to the football for Queensland.
That's four in a row. That's 4 errors in 4 sets from Queensland. But when they get a set down the other end, they score. Just imagine if they can complete their sets on a more frequent basis, Scott. The scoreline could potentially push out.
Pivotal moment here for New South Wales, though. With Dybel, Danny Davis now. Pumps it. Young in the half. Feeds it out the back. Beautiful little show and go from Dybel. Rogers with not much room to move. Touch is made. Marquis again. What a battle out here on the left-hand side of the field. Huge touch from Markey. 5th touch for New South Wales. Then they conjure something up. Dybel comes down in the short side again. Massive play.
Tell you what, from Markey, what a try saver. The effort from Dybel in the middle of the field to step right, step left. Feed the ball at pace to the winger, and Rogers, unfortunately, getting touched, but put her body in a good position to score the try.
Here we go.
Unfortunately, not coming up with it.
Yeah, sorry, Jackson. A little bit of space down the left-hand side of the field. Olivia Goodsell cuts back in. Sargent steaming back onto the park. Carney dishes My. Andreasen feeds it back again. Nice roll into the line here for Queensland. My just jinks, holds. Potentially looking for the penalty. Not going to get it. They play it now. Strong contact there from Courtney Young. Not happy with that one, mate?
No, I don't think so. You could see they were looking for the penalty. But it seems like Andreasen just fell over in the contact.
They look to go short side ball out in front of Catherine Sargent. Touch is made. Goodsell in the half. Quite compressed in the midfield here, Queensland, as Walsh dishes it. Andreasen sweep. Loops the ball over the top. Oh, bobble this time. Referees say all clear. Are my eyes starting to deceive me now, Jackson?
You're blind.
I'll let you call it
through.
We might be. OPSM, be on standby, Coffs Harbour.
3 tries, Scott. What's happened every single try? It's been scored in the same spot with the same line run and the exact same pass. The sweeper coming round, straightening up the defensive line, making that winger hold 1 second too long and then just feeding it straight to the wing. 3 tries, all identical from Queensland. If something works, don't go away from it.
So strong start here from Queensland. Handy margin, New South Wales. Can they capitalise down this end of the field off the restart? Michaelopoulos now into the line. Go away from the sweep up. Bit of space out here, but Georgina Rackerman having to get on the skate to go and make the touch there on Hayley Crawford. And she does. 1 touch to come for New South Wales as they come back into the midfield. Duff, a little bit of footwork. They switch in. Nothing Zara Nicholas could have done on that occasion. Queensland restart their set. Sammy Joe Curtis. 2C on touch 2. Files now. Lucia. Our contact. Haley Maddox seems back onto the field. Skips away from one. Comes back in. Tiani Bryce straightens up the point of attack. Maddox scoops it with one hand. Beautiful footwork again. Slices into the in-goal area. Looks for support. Rackerman into the corner. Touch has been made. Oh, New South Wales having to do absolutely everything there. But Haley Maddox is turning it on.
Haley Maddox just stepping ghosts out there. Stepping right, stepping left. She ran from about halfway to the 10-metre line. Picks the ball up from dummy half. Nice little dummy switch, managing to get into the in-goal. I think she had probably a little bit more time with the ball. Just throwing it a little bit too early, but she's looking sharp, Scott. Looking very sharp.
Danny Davis now comes onto the field, rolls over the halfway line. Last touch, Slattery. Early ball. And it was on that side. There was a nice run coming into the last touch there, Jackson, but just the ball going behind Shelley Davis.
You can see in the Queensland box, all the girls, they're up, they're vocal. The energy's there. New South Wales girls are down on their haunches, sucking in the big ones. Heads are down there. They're not yelling with energy. They're actually getting a bit frustrated, it seems. So let's hope that doesn't continue into the back half of the first half. But Queensland again gifted good field position for a Blues error.
Files plays it. Carney now sliding across. Files will get into half. Links up with Rachel Walsh. Last touch now. Files has good footwork. Almost sliding through in the bright orange boot. A little nervous moment defending the line there for New South Wales. Take their time to bring it up to the 7. Again, sucking in the big ones. Big set needed here. Davis on touch 1. Queensland sliding forward. New South Wales flat-footed. A little bit better here on touch 3. Having to skip away. Maimai makes the touch and back to the mark. Stephanie Maiolo goes. Changes with Young. Dybel dishes. Will get herself into half. That's nice coming into the... Oh, nice little exchange of passes, but losing the touch count, as I did myself. Files on touch 1 makes good meters. Shikani rolls forward on 2. Sargent back onto the field. Susie scopes it out. Haley Maddox back on the run. Loops one over the top. Goes over the head of Catherine Sargent. And in front of Olivia Goodsall.
Let's see if New South Wales can fix their drive. They've struggled to get the first 1 and 2 touches going forward. They've been moving sideways or getting absolutely dominated by Queensland defence. So again, they've gone back to that short side. Again, making the touch exactly where they played it. This is touch 2. That's better roll on from New South Wales.
Nice run as well from Courtney Young.
This is better from the Blues. A lot better. They just need to capitalise on that 5th and last touch.
Up into half. Loops one over the top. Couldn't be connected there with Sammy Rogers.
Zara Nicholas just unfortunately having a bit of contact during the play of the ball, so Duff wasn't actually able to get a clean run out of dummy half.
Smarky just has to hold the ball. Good response from Hinarangi coming on. A bit flat-footed here, though, the Queenslanders. Marama Thomas now plays it on last. Folds gives early ball to Tiani Bryce. A little bit of space, just gliding across the park. Georgina Rackerman runs out of real estate down the right-hand side of the field. Gives the ball back to New South Wales on the 7.
So sorry, Scott. You assume that the New South Wales Blues are going to drive the box, and this is probably danger zone for them because Queensland are just going to try and flood them. So there's touch 1. Queensland have, well, they've luckily got called offside there, but they were just ready. They were looking at them, ready to come in and smash them from the side.
Slattery.
But again, going sideways, Scott.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Jackson, very lateral as the changes come on. Danny Davis now feeds it. Slattery, a little bit of space out here on the right-hand side. No, on-field referees are going to come back. That's unfortunate for New South Wales.
Come back a mile.
It'll be interesting to see what the call is.
The referee said no, obviously being
Yeah.
played the ball without actually being touched.
Yep.
That's that signal, using the forklift arms.
Tap taken from Marama Thomas. Through the hands. Come back in field. Bolds rolls forward again. Sargent does the same. Takes a little bit for Olivia Goodstill to get into the acting half position. Big dummy there from Mai. Last touch, Huda goes in the background. Carney puts it through the hands, looping ball over the top, just falls at the feet there of Georgina Rackerman. But what a start here in game one of the Women's Open match. Queensland coming out, all guns blazing, up by 3 at the halftime break.
Yeah, it's been dominant, particularly from the start. They scored early through that sweeper play where Matic came around from right to left, throwing to the wing, and all 3 tries for Queensland have been exactly the same. Straightening up the defensive line and throwing into that left-hand touchline. But New South Wales struggling to go forward in their drive pattern, going very sideways, or Queensland are just coming in and smashing them, not giving them the ability to go forward. So I'm sure there's going to be some harsh words spoken in the New South Wales huddle at halftime. Queensland easily on top.
Yeah, big effort needed for New South Wales to get themselves into this match. We'll see how the second half unfolds. We'll take a quick break and be back with the second half action in just a few moments' time. Back for the second half here in the Women's Open. Game one, Queensland, well in control, up by 3. Really important start to the match there, but Queensland looking the goods. Ellie Matic really turning it on there in the first half, Jackson.
It was quite a dominant performance by Queensland. I know it's 3-0. They went through a bit of a lull, but just shutting New South Wales down in their drive set. And we spoke about at half-time, Scott, you probably saw the pictures on your screen. Danny Davis, number 6, just laying down the law to her team. See, very emotive, very expressive. And then we panned across to the Queensland bench. You can just see them nice, calm, collected in a group. No panic, no nothing. So two different, I'd say, mindsets going into the second. New South Wales can't panic, but Queensland are going to look to definitely keep the foot on the throat.
So I see how they come out of the second half break. Is it more of the same here for Queensland? It's like they're going to go with a set play. Good contact, though, on Susie as they fire it out the back. Biles, there's a play down on the deck. Ooh, just pushing that pass, which can happen, can't it? You see that there's a play. You know you got an advantage numbers-wise somewhere. So it probably wasn't worth one that wasn't a risk of, as I can get my words out. It was worth a shot, I should say. It was worth a shot.
Well, Queensland have the buffer. They can afford to now try and push that pass, and sometimes it creates more opportunity pushing that, high-risk ball. New South Wales probably have to be a bit more strict around their sets and their structure.
That's for Hoogaduff now. Switches, but too late. Touch and pass. Penalty will go the way of Queensland. What are the key things that New South Wales have to focus on? We've kind of made mention touch one is crucial for them.
Yeah, you've
really
taken
let them down.
You've taken it out of my mouth. It's touch one and touch two. If you can get touch one and touch two right, touch 3, 4, and 5 come naturally. The problem is if you can't get touch one and touch two, you're not getting anywhere near 4 and 5, particularly with the go forward. If you watch Queensland, they do it so well. From touch one, they just manage to get the momentum going forward. And sometimes it's worth actually copying a good hit on that first touch, allowing that second wave of momentum going forward. But New South Wales just don't seem to have that in the pocket at this point in time.
You see it again here. They're happy to put the ball through their hands. Again on touch one. Going quite wide and long with the ball. He's catching them a little bit flat-footed.
That's better.
It is a better transition, though, coming over the halfway line. Sonny Davis, as you mentioned, very vocal at halftime. Nice roll in there from Sammy Rogers. Davis looks out the back, skips across field, switches. Queensland having to come in, and Markey makes the touch on Slattery. Davis looking to inject herself into the game now.
Correct, exactly. Looking back over her right-hand shoulder. I don't know where she was looking, but it fooled me. I looked the other way, seeing what was coming through over her right-hand shoulder. Takes off to the left. Very deceptive. I'd like to see Davis a little bit more coming out of dummy half. However, she hasn't had the opportunity because New South Wales haven't been able to go forward. So there is no option for her to come out of half and use that weapon of a long ball that we see so often. But Maddock, the one showing the long ball, and it's Marquis in the corner. We spoke about it before. Going forward, Queensland do it the best. And again, Hayley Maddock coming out of half. Coming right, actually, going back towards the short side. Flat-footed, throws a 25-metre ball onto the chest of Markey. And finishing it for Queensland in the corner. A dominant start to this second half. That extends the margin by 4, Scott.
Yeah, that's a pretty daunting task now in front of New South Wales, but you're 100% correct. They're really pressed over on the right-hand side of the field, and Page ended up scoring it for a winger quite midfield. So it was a pretty interesting try there from Queensland. And Hayley Maddock again with the hot hand. She's had her hands in absolutely everything this evening for Queensland. Oh. Rogers gets caught on last. Sargent on touch one. Again, just showing that big difference between the two teams.
That's it there. You watch Catherine Sargent. When that ball hit the ground, she was on it, playing it straight away, going forward before New South Wales were even set. If Queensland don't score here, let's watch the reaction from New South Wales and see if they do the exact same thing.
Grayson from half picks up, goes down that right-hand side of the field. Susie gets away from one, sends it back into the midfield, and it's 6 touch.
They just walk into it. There needs to be some sort of urgency from the Blues on touch one. They seem to have been going away from the box. It's something I haven't seen been repeated in in a touch football game, but it's something interesting that New South Wales seem to be doing, trying to spread the defence of Queensland. And they've gotten a good roll on here through Davis.
And the 6 touch, looking for an offside player. Kelly Davis having a chat with the on-field referee. Worth a dig. Picking up from half and just trying to drive through the line. Queensland with the changes onto the field. Ashkani forward. Murray Thomas now onto the park. Dishes to Sargent. Yanni Bryce picks up, comes back in, nicely taken from Thomas, but running into two New South Wales defenders. Again, slow to get the start. I can see you pointing out there. The ball spills out.
You can just see the difference. Queensland are on it straight away. They've already played the ball before New South Wales have gotten into the defensive line, and New South Wales are actually waiting for Queensland to get set before playing the ball.
Crawford takes one forward on the previous play. And Davis back onto the field now. That lightning footwork. Getting away from Queensland defenders. Duff, early ball. Michaelopoulos comes back to midfield. They'll get a repeat set. Now this will be an interesting set for them. Full set of 6 attacking the Queensland line. They've got to get points off this set.
Well, I've seen a few players slip over, so there's obviously a bit of dew on the ground. If you can get Davis one-on-one as she sweeps around the outside, if you can get one-on-one with her fast footwork, she's going to make players slip. Or you make her a decoy, sweep around exactly like that, and the dummy half pick up and go against the grain because the ground's so wet and so dewy. They're not going to be able to maintain the foot speed with the dummy half runner.
Duff from half again. Davis looping left to right. He makes the touch. He's going to come back for a penalty in the midfield. Queensland players not moving forward off the line. New South Wales will take the opportunity to get some changes onto the park. Danny Davis taking her time to get the ball as well. This gets them the opportunity to get their attacking line set, I should say. You can't see it on screen at the moment, but Tiani Bryce just making her way. You can see her in the number 7 there in the in-goal area, just having to step off the field. And picked up a little knock. Queensland back with their full complement onto the park. Davis picked up early in the count, linked up with her sister Rochelle. 2 Davis girls in the middle of the field. They're the ones to be able to spark a comeback here for the Blues. Dybel crabbing across field, early ball, comes back in. And touch made.
Great touch, cover defence by Catherine Sargent. Very strong defender, standing there in the left-hand link. But it is the Manly combination that we're seeing on screen between the 2 Davis sisters and Dybel. They've also got Michaelopoulos out in the left-hand link, just waiting and sneaking around. But it is Dybel who feeds to the left-hand touchline.
Touch made.
I think it was a little cheeky forward pass, Scott, unfortunately.
Yeah, they will come back to the midfield. Paul Jackson. Still not able to capitalise and get their opening point of the match. New South Wales, Queensland put it through the hands again. Ackerman down the sideline. Sargent, the metres that she makes every carry. This really gets Queensland on the front foot. Susie now does the same. Maddox finds the ball. Oh, is this play on there? I think there's a simultaneous touch there. Came off the fingertips. Think of Sammy Jo Curtis into Duff. It almost looked like it came back off Curtis again, back into the fingertips. And the penalty is actually going to come Queensland's way.
We'll score 6 again because she's been asked to roll it.
So Maddox, ball in hand, steps in. Does she go early in the touch count? Rockets one. Yes, she does. Marquis just losing control of the football. Has the touch been made first? Referees are happy that she's held on to the ball. Back into the midfield. Susie getting away from Kelly Davis. Sammy Jo directing the traffic. Maddox sweeps, comes back in. Early ball from half, feeds it through. Hands there from Sammy Jo Curtis off the deck. 6 touches the call. Desperation there from Queensland on the last touch, but they couldn't come up with the cookies.
That being said, good scramble defence by Crawford for New South Wales on the left-hand wing. They had the numbers, Queensland, but it was desperate defence by the Blues. See if they can capitalise on that good defensive effort.
Rogers from half on the last touch, just over the halfway. New South Wales taking the opportunity to get players onto the field at that point in time. Is now coming up out of the line, trying to put pressure on as Queensland make their changes. Walsh Good meters. Andrea sent onto the park now for Queensland. Still play it here on last. My into half. Looks for a little bit of space. Gets into the in goal. And they had to get the gates on there.
Tell you what, that was close from my coming off the left foot, splitting the defence between Pappenhausen and Nicholas on that left-hand defensive touchline. Nicholas just making the touch in the end before Momo could get the ball away. Again, that's third touch there, Scott.
Yeah, they put it through the hands. It came out to Sammy Rogers on fourth. They're going to make changes here as well, coming into the last touch. Still one to go. Again, scrambling. Young down the sideline, though, threading the needle. Still getting down there as the touch been made. Yeah, Georgina Rackerman is claiming the touch as well as Ash Carney. There was no room to move down that right-hand side.
You know what gave her the room? Absolute gamesmanship by Sammy Rogers, just blocking Rackerman out from actually giving her a direct line to make that touch. Very cheeky from Sammy Rogers, but Rackerman just managing to squeeze away through. Fully outstretched dive. I think she could have crossed the line there, Young, if she got through the touch of Rackerman.
Good juggle there from Ash Carney. They make good contact just to slow up the roll of the ball. They won't mind that, though. It's Curtis. Dishes to Susie. Maddox sweeps. They give. Oh, rocket there to Catherine Sargent. No. That was an unbelievable ball. Referees.
Absolute bullet from Haley Maddox to Catherine Sargent. Sargent actually diving onto the ball across the line. That would have been some try if it would have paid off. Just getting pipped at the line. Great touch by New South Wales.
Then better as well to start their set. Letting the ball do the work off the fingertips, though. Courtney Young, in the first set. Definitely in the second half where they made good momentum on their early touches. Couldn't finish it off this time. Towards the back end of the set. Queensland on the halfway. Rackerman just holding the ball up as the changes come on. Andreasen off the right foot. Comes back in towards the middle of the field with Marvin Thomas. Bryce in the half. Players offside here for New South Wales. And the on-field referee, Amanda Sheikey, is going to agree. Plays a penalty here to Queensland.
It's good to see Tiani Bryce back on. Obviously nothing critical. Just went off the back at about 5 minutes ago, so it's good to see her back on the park. No serious injury, just must have copped a knock. A little bit of a stinger maybe.
Andreasen has a little dive at the line. They get another penalty though, Queensland.
So that's 2 penalties in a row. Another penalty given and someone from New South Wales has to be frozen, so it becomes 6 on 5.
Bryce at the line. Michaelopoulos making the touch. Tiani now on screen, heads back to the 7-metre line. Steps in, and link back up with Mara Thomas, who plays it now. Filed, sweep, comes back midfield, touch is made. Penalty is going to be given to New South Wales. And they'll be marched upfield as well. Queensland not returning the ball back to New South Wales and where the mark was. This is an important set here for New South Wales. They need to take advantage of that extra couple of metres because that's where they really struggled to go forward. So this is a good opportunity. If the changes come on to the field here for the Blues. Davis firing it off. Yalla Duff now plays it. Last touch. Flat at best from acting half. Tries to slide in underneath off the right foot. Touch is made.
Good reaction by Files in the orange boots just to stick the mid out. Clip Duff sliding in underneath. Good evasiveness from Duff, but just getting nicked by Files. Just over 5 minutes to play here in the first game in the Women's Opens. And I'm just going to say 4 tries can be scored in 5 minutes in the game of touch football, easily. There just needs to be that breaking point for New South Wales. But when you've got the likes of Manick and Sargent moving the ball around so effectively and so efficiently, it's hard to sort of get back in the game at that point. You look at the scoreboard and you see you're down by 4 or 5 minutes to play. That's sort of a mental game. You're not only playing against Queensland, you're playing against yourself.
Steibel shows it. Receives the ball back and just spilling out of the fingertips. Gives the ball back to Queensland. They restart their set. On the halfway line. Touch 2 here with Mai. They're going to be into an attacking position. Fifth try might be the icing on the cake for Queensland. Mai holds. Walsh comes back into the middle there. Had to make the touch. The outstretched arms there at Bahuka Duff.
Not a bad play. I'd like to see Matic actually sweep from right to left and the dummy half fake to her and go back to short side, because Matic's been so deadly on that sweep with the long ball. I think the...
Oh! And a solid hit on the ground. That'll be Catherine Sargent. I can guarantee you he'll get straight back to her feet and does.
Very tough individual, Catherine Sargent.
So we have a look at the replay here. Not much doing here for Queensland, but again, they just chance their hand. Nice work here from Rachel Walsh. Just loops it over the top, trying to get the ball out as she was falling into the ground. Sacrifices her body. Queensland, that do-or-die mentality. Never present there in their last set. New South Wales, geez, they just really looked flat. But you made mention as well in the first half, they looked flat from the opening stages of the match. They've really found it hard to get themselves into the game.
Yeah, you're right, Scott. And when you're playing against Queensland, they're just so strong. They're just typical Queensland, strong from the get-go to the finish. If you get stuck in that little lull like New South Wales are finding themselves in, it's very hard to dig yourself out of it. As Matic comes out of half now.
Across the field. Touch is being claimed, and it will be a touch and pass. Bella Slattery having to dive there. Make the touch on Hayley Matic. Slattery takes the tap, gets the free started. Goes forward on touch 1. Danny Davis down the sideline. Slattery again. Links up with Michaelopoulos. Over the halfway line, here they go. Not a bad set this time around as Duff rolls forward. And New South Wales still getting into position with Duke 4, who switches. Duff into half. Gets it within a whisker of the in-goal area. Goes that late switch at the line. That was Kiala on that occasion.
And this is Queensland through and through. They're already on the ball. This is touch 2 and they're 5 from halfway. Catherine Sargent doing what she does best. Driving hard forward. I possibly could have let the advantage play through there. They had them absolutely cooked on the back foot, Queensland.
It's Mai. Picks up cheap meters as well. He's good from evading that first defender. Fingertips there, loose pass. What's going through the minds of the New South Wales coaches now, Jackson? Pretty big deficit. Not massive. 4 tries, like you said, it's not much in a game of touches. We see New South Wales turn it over. Could be 5 fairly soon. How do they turn it around for game 2?
All they have to do is fix their errors. But the error rate's been quite high for New South Wales. Plus, touches 1 and 2. We spoke about it just after halftime. They were getting dominated early on in the touch count. And have continued to be dominated too during touches 1 and 2, but the error rate and that's basically it, Scott. They'll learn from it. They'll come out all guns blazing in game 2. But Queensland, I tell you what, they're looking strong. They're looking very sharp. You know what else is looking sharp, Scott? The fans. This stadium is absolutely packed at the moment. I'd say there's more than 500 people packed in. A lot of Queensland jumpers. This is the Queensland home ground, let's say, for this campaign. Unfortunately, a few things didn't go to plan for hosting it up in Queensland, so Coffs Harbour had to do, but there's a lot of maroon out in the crowd, and they're very vocal as well, in typical Queensland spirit.
It's a home away from home for the Queenslanders. If it couldn't be in Queensland this year, the next best option is Coffs Harbour. These players very familiar with this facility and the stadium. Played here not too long ago in the National Championships. A lot of the ladies out here in the Queensland team successful. throughout that campaign. Good contact there from Danny Davis. They put it through the hands again. Hooter sounds in the background, and it will be Queensland who take the victory in game one of the Women's Open. What a performance it was. Pretty tight tussle in the second half. Not too many points after Queensland went into the halftime break. 3 tries to 0 up. Only the 1 try in the second half, but they were pretty much comfortable for the majority of that game.
That is something New South Wales can take away. It was only 1-0 in the second half. Yes, the first half may have got away from them, but they actually managed to find